Boo. Did I scare you? No? Okay. Well, how about this? Boo. Yeah. A job. I bet you're scared now. Okay, let's be for real. Hi, I'm Prodigy. For this video, I'll be covering The Conjuring Last Rites. Initially, I wrote the script when the movie was in theaters and predicted a prequel. A month later, in October of 2025, they announced the prequel, so I'm basically Nostradamus or Baba Vanga. Now, is this movie scary? In my opinion, nope. Far from reaching Conjuring 1 and 2 status, I think this movie was better than The Devil Made Me Do It, but it's as formulaic and standard issue as it gets for Conjuring movies. It's sort of like the 2006 Toyota Camry of Conjuring movies. It's reliable, boring, and safe, but it works. The demand is high. However, I imagine people have the same level of excitement watching this movie as they do seeing a Camry driving around on the road. By the way, no Camry hate. I love them personally, but they need to take the fall for this comparison. We start in the past. The far, far past. 1964, which is only a few years after man discovered fire. Inside an antique shop, a young set of the Warrens interview a woman named Victoria Granger. She states that her dad complained of the supernatural, like doors unlocking that he previously locked and hearing voices. Victoria dismissed it, believing he was just getting too old. He was so offended at being called old, he literally hung himself. No, of course not. The demon made him do it. Wait, demon made him do it? Or the devil made him do it?
Hey, shut your bitch ass up, nigga.
Victoria found his body and soon after felt the presence herself. She states sometimes when it's quiet, it calls to me. I can tell. The Warrens go to investigate the storage room, showcasing Lorraine is pregnant to really up the ante. Ed tells Lorraine he isn't sure if it's safe to check out. Lorraine says, "Get the fuck out of the way!" Lorraine inspects the storeroom, and Ed disappears despite being worried. Lorraine finds a sheeted object and covering a mirror underneath. Lorraine speaks to the mirror like it's an interview. I thought she was about to start listing her best qualities for the role. Demon locator, demon purger, adventurous, devil hater, daring. Huh. I guess she can be called a daredevil. Wait. Lorraine is initially confused by the entity possessing the mirror. She touches the mirror and it cracks, showing an evil Lorraine and a flash of future events like Conjuring 2 did, if you remember. Because of this, the unborn baby starts tripping out. I decided not to use the pictures since the baby looked kinda gross, so here's an accurate representation of the baby panicking. The baby is coming, so Ed and Lorraine speed off in the rain, weaving around traffic because his family is on the line. Lorraine is rushing to L&D, separating from Ed. The power goes out, so they bust out a single flashlight. Lorraine feels the demon's presence, shakily muttering, "He's here." Wow, so she's assuming the demon's gender now? The demon slowly reveals itself on the ceiling, but it's scared off by the immense aura of Ed, who runs in. Ed's there for support, so the nurses reluctantly tell him to just stay out the way. The doctor informs Lorraine she has to push now. Moments later, the baby has complications with the cord strangling it. This baby is getting spawn camped by a literal demon and Mother Nature. That's crazy work. The baby comes out but isn't crying. The nurse takes the baby and the doctor soon follows. After inspecting the baby, he just concludes the baby is gone. But from what we see, he doesn't even try CPR or anything. Lorraine demands to see her baby, and they give it to her. The staff stand and pray while Lorraine and Ed comfort each other and grieve. Lorraine prays to God to save her baby.
Love of God!
The baby cries out, "Yay." A nurse asks what they're going to name the baby. Ed and Lorraine then realize it's a girl and throw the baby out the window. They name the baby Judy, which is their daughter from the previous entries. There's a montage that plays of Judy from baby to kid. An important scene plays at the end where Judy comes running into the house telling Lorraine, "I see dead people." Lorraine tells her to push it away by reciting this Lucy Lockett nursery rhyme. Judy asks what if she can't keep them away, and Lorraine tells her she can. It's up to her whether or not she wants to see demons for the rest of her life. Freedom, I guess. 22 years later, it's 1986, Pennsylvania. Jad Smurl drives up to his house in his Pontiac. He enters his quintessential family, both parents, his wife, and their 4 daughters. It's the standard issue chaotic and fun families we've seen in other entries. In the chaos, Jad says it's Sunday Mass and they gotta get going. Heather, his second oldest daughter, complains to the mom that Dawn, the oldest daughter, took up all the hot water in the shower and is ruining her day. The grandma tries to cheer Heather up, but Dawn pokes fun at her. The mom blow dries Heather's hair to get her ready. Side note, these movies make me believe daughters are for real bad luck. The first 2 movies were all daughters, and now these guys, it's literally 3 to 4 odds. If you have all daughters, you will have a demon. Anyways, it's Heather's confirmation. Jack films it and tells his wife to get her big ass forehead out the way. Heather's confirmed. Yay. It's celebration time. Everyone's happy setting up the table. There's a foreshadowing spooky scene with the mom on the phone cord. But of course this time it's the youngest daughter's pranking mom. Jad starts recording after the whole family is gathered. He shows Heather's gift wrapped up. Dawn semi-complains, and Jad tells Heather to open it. I think it could be a bicycle. No, it's a demon mirror. Simon, their dog, immediately starts barking. You're telling me the wrapping paper had suppressed the demon aura that much? Where'd they buy it from? The Pope? Heather says she loves it. The grandma explains they got it at the swap meet for cheap. The grandma makes a sweet remark and Dawn uses it to poke fun at Heather. Heather kicks Dawn and says it was an accident. Sure. It's cake time. The lights are off and the candle is lit. Heather goes to blow it out and it's mysteriously snuffed. She blames Dawn, but she denies it. They turn on the lights and the ceiling light crashes down on them, cutting Heather. The scene pauses as Ted scrolls down the screen saying that in this movie the Smurls and Warrens will encounter an evil never before encountered and it will devastate their family and end their careers. Sure. Let's see. Ed and Lorraine do their Annabelle lecture, but to an almost empty classroom. Judy is watching too. The students joke that they're Ghostbusters. One student asks why they stopped and Ed replies they haven't. They've just been touring and lecturing, but there's some doubt. During dinner at a restaurant, Ed is bitter that their careers are kind of a joke now. Judy asks why he didn't admit it was his heart, which was an issue in Devil Made Me Do It. Ed responds he can't admit that because that would make me old, which would make him hang himself like some guy he knew. Judy mentions she wants to bring her boyfriend of 6 months to Ed's birthday, to which Ed does typical dad talk, but Lorraine agrees they would love to have him. The waitress comes and Lorraine orders her food. While Ed talks to the waitress about our heart-healthy diet, Lorraine senses something. Her fixation goes to Judy, who is quietly reciting her rhyme. Lorraine reaches out for Judy's hand, and they comfort each other. Lorraine glances up and sees a hand on Judy's shoulder and gasps, like a little Lorraine plays it off and carries on. Back to the Smurls. The mom does chores and a dog comes crawling in. She picks it up and puts it in the laundry basket. She goes to the basement and starts doing the laundry, but gets freaked out seeing a man in the shadows.
Hi.
Really creepy, but they did nothing with it. Flicking the light reveals it's a John Wayne poster. The kids are running around, and of course, the same jump scares foreshadow of the phone being tugged from mom happens. The phone is then yanked from her head. She assumes it's the girls, but when she hears them run upstairs, the phone continues to tug right in front of her. She flicks the light, and no one is there. Spooky. The daughters are playing tea time. Susie the doll disappears, so the girls track it down. She hears the doll and finds it. The doll starts to act up, flipping over and then floating. She glances at the mirror and then back, and there's a creepy old spirit holding the doll. She runs away screaming for her mommy. During dinner, no one believes the little girl, and for some reason the mom doesn't share the phone being tugged from her or the shadow man in the basement. Heather tries to confide in Dawn about the mirror, but Dawn just makes fun of her and the mirror. Heather gets upset, and Dawn notices, finally coming around and being nice, hinting it's trash day tomorrow. The two of them take the mirror outside to toss. It's morning breakfast bonding. Heather and Dawn are getting along. The younger sisters are messing with Simon and feeding him bacon. The garbage men throw the mirror into the truck compactor and it gets smushed. And what do you know? The movie actually ends here. Oh, and never mind, Dawn throws up her own food. Oh, and never mind, she's throwing up her own blood. Oh, and never mind, she's throwing up glass shards into the sink. They mention that they have to rush her to the hospital. Her stomach and throat should be torn to shreds. She should be dead, but no, she talks perfectly fine later in the movie. The doctor takes Ed's blood pressure and tells Ed, you can't have another heart attack, which is foreshadowing. It's Ed's birthday. Judy and her boyfriend Tony pull up. Tony is super nervous because he wants approval. Judy assures him her mom loves him. But what about your dad? Judy pokes fun at Tony, asking why he's wearing a tie. It's not a funeral. They make it to the door and Lorraine and Ed are happy to see Judy. Ed pokes fun at Tony, eventually saying, what's with the tie? It's not a funeral. Hee hee, nice one, Ed. Lorraine gives him a look and invites Tony in, saying he looks handsome. Tony is introduced to Father Gordon, who has been in previous movies. Judy mentions Tony is a retired police officer, which is odd since he's so young. Tony avoids it by saying it's a long story. Ed shows off the haunted room to guests while Judy and Tony see from afar. Tony roams around, finally ending up outside. He meets Brad Hamilton and Drew Gordon from the first movie. Brad mans a barbecue and begins to share his experience with the Warrens to Tony, telling him to grab a bun. While this is happening, Judy is checking out her childhood room. Of course, her day one hater Annabelle starts to mess with her. Judy recites her rhyme and Annabelle disappears, but Tony nods, startling her. They chat for a minute, Tony asking about the rhyme. They flirt, escalating to him kissing her. They make out and Lorraine walks in. Yikes. Lorraine tells Tony to go see Ed since he's inviting some of the guys to the garage. Tony, happily, runs off. Lorraine asks Judy if everything is fine. She now encourages Judy to try and shut out the demons completely because it will suck based on her experience. Judy says she's got it, so they head over to Tony and Ed. Tony and Ed play ping pong. It's a good game of back and forth. Ed barely wins and almost has a heart attack, but plays it off. Judy and others leave to go get some drinks. Tony shows an engagement ring to the Warrens. He states he bought it a week after he met her, and he knows it's only been 6 months, but when you know, you know. Lorraine loves it. and gives her blessing, but Ed protests. There's some back and forth, but before Ed can finish, Judy and Drew come back and see the ring. Tony panics trying to hide the ring and drops it. He crouches down and grabs it, but stays down there. Judy asks if the ring is for her. Tony panics some more and says no, it's for Ed, to which Ed and him start kissing. Tony on his knees looks at Ed waiting for his response. Ed encourages Tony with a nod and a grin. Before Tony can really propose, Judy says yes emphatically. Ed and Drew congratulate Tony while Lorraine embraces Judy. While leaving, Father Gordon mentions the case to the Warrens, which Lorraine shoots down. He calls Ed an old man and then hops in a taxi while Ed hangs himself. Jatsmurl arrives home to his freaked out family. His daughters argue with him wanting to leave, but it's just not possible. He's trying to fix it by getting the church involved, but it takes a while. Jack gets ready for bed and he seems exhausted with everything. He has the energy of,
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
the door opens and he just stares at it. He reaches for his glasses, but they fall on the floor. He picks them up, and of course there's a demon girl at the foot of his bed looking at him like the Monopoly go-to-jail guy. She proceeds to lay him out and floats his body in the air. In the mirror, we see the demon lady mid-air, giving Jack a kiss goodnight. A semi-truck passes by shaking the house while Heather is downstairs rewatching the tape from when she gets her candles blown out. She constantly attempts to pause it precisely when the candles go out, but fails multiple times since she can't rewind precisely. She gradually starts to see the demon's face. On the final attempt, Marilyn Manson is there blowing out her candle. When you think about it, bro ain't even haunting them here. He's just there messing up their night for the love of the game. Heather is now terrified as the TV starts to glitch. She then sees two glowing eyes above the TV. Another semi passes and lights up the living room, revealing it's just some tableware. She turns around and from the shadows,
Is that the Grim Reaper?
the spirit comes out and grabs an adze left out on the table, which made me think, did Jack just leave out an adze like it's a remote? Or did the spirit try to aura farm by planting it there before she turned around? Marilyn Manson attacks Heather, who screams for help. The mom wakes up and sees her husband Jack sweating profusely. And I mean, profusely. The entire family is summoned and Heather is okay. Jack arrived last because he took a shower. The wife pleads to Jack to fix his issue. Dawn is all smug like, I told you so. All of a sudden, news vans pull up, citing the devil has come to Pennsylvania. Reporters come in and interview the family. People post up by the house to see glimpses of the paranormal. Jack and his wife go on Larry King, which is basically like if they went on Joe Rogan. Jack claims they just wanted to attract some sort of help. Jack's wife is interviewed. The same clip plays in a wedding shop that Judy and Lorraine pull up in. The shopkeeper, Brenda, helps Judy in a room full of mirrors while she tries on her wedding dress. They're just chatting about boyfriends and the lady accidentally pokes Judy under her dress, trying to taper it. Foreshadowing. The phone rings and Brenda's coworker doesn't answer, so she steps out, leaving Judy alone. Judy admires the dress and crouches down to fix it. She looks in the mirror and notices one of her reflections is standing straight, unlike the rest. She moves and the reflection assimilates with the rest. The door opens and Judy feels relieved. What Judy presumes is Brenda hops straight under her dress. Hey yo. Judy is asking what Brenda is doing down there. Judy gets poked again and starts to realize it's not Brenda who's sniffing her cheeks. It's the creepy grandma that scared the little girl earlier, and she tells Judy,
Please, no, please, give me another chance, please, queen, just a crumb, please, just a sniff, queen, please.
The lights go out and Judy falls down yelling. Grandma begins to crawl up on Judy, caressing her face. Hey yo. Judy yells for her mom and recites her rhyme. The lights come on and Judy is alone. She stands up and oh wait, her reflection is tapping on the mirror in front of her. The reflection punches straight through and starts choking Judy. Judy says, choke me harder. Hey yo, these writers are something else. Judy collapses as Lorraine and Brenda rush in, tending to her. Back to the Smurls, someone is being carted off in an ambulance. Jack and his dad follow suit, pushing past the reporters and people. Father Gordon arrives as they're leaving and probably second guesses if he should pull up. Father Gordon speaks with Jat's wife, who reveals it was Jat's mom who was pushed down the stairs.
Oh, nigga! My ears burn!
The mom is happy that the church sent Father Gordon, but he reveals he's not there officially to the church, but as a worried person. Father Gordon walks around blessing the house with holy water. He enters the basement while John Wayne watches judgingly. The holy water he pours on the stairs begins to smoke. He keeps dousing the basement until he notices the whole basement is fogged. Father Gordon comes stumbling out of the basement, claiming he has to leave immediately to speak to the church. Nah, he pulled an ancient technique.
Fuck this. Fuck. Did you see this? Look at this.
Father Gordon arrives at the church and is greeted by an older lady assistant. Before he can speak to the bishop, she relays Gordon's message to the phone to the bishop and says he'll just be a moment. She tells him to wait, so he sits down in front of her. She begins clacking away at her typewriter. While she does this, Gordon scratches his nuts and sniffs his fingers. In the background, we see a cord being pulled away down the hall, and it turns out his nose is bleeding, so I guess they smelled bad. The cord is then pulled to full tension, which makes a whip noise. Gordon glances over and then looks back to find the receptionist is missing. She pulled one of these. He looks around for her, and then the phone rings. For some reason, he picks up the phone like he works there. The person on the phone is Judy. She just says, "You can go now," which I guess was Gordon's Winter Soldier trigger word because he just about passes out. The doorknob to the bishop's office, which has crosses, turns upside down and flings open, revealing darkness. Gordon attempts to escape, but the doors behind him shut. The sky outside the window turns pitch black and the room goes dark. Gordon busts open his case and brings out his cross. He proclaims, "I am protected by God." But I guess God was on his lunch break because he said, "We do not care." His cross catches on fire, forcing him to drop it. He crumbles and stares at the demon off screen, who calls him old, so Gordon hangs himself. This demon is 2 for 2 so far on old men. Tony starts up Ed's motorcycle after fixing it, so Ed decides to flex his haunted room. Tony asks why they keep them and not destroy them. Ed gives the usual genie in the bottle speech, saying it can become a lot worse destroying the object. Oops. Ed reveals they've done 1,000 cases. Looks like we're getting 1,000 movies. Ed tells the story of Judy's birth being spawn camped. There's some more dad talk that's interrupted by sad Lorraine and Judy. Lorraine gives a eulogy at Gordon's funeral. They part from Gordon, but before leaving, Judy touches his casket. She gets a flash of something we don't see. They go to their car, but before entering, a Father Ziegler tells them Gordon believed in the Warrens. Judy asks where he died. Ziegler says, Pennsylvania. At home, Lorraine washes dishes, pulling the plug on the water, but it doesn't drain. She tries the disposal, but it doesn't work. She shoves her hand into the drain and eventually pulls the potential for this movie because they didn't shred her hand. She pulls out Judy's locket. Suddenly, the water becomes blood and Lorraine drops the locket in, all dramatic. Miss Butterfingers over here. The blood overflows and spills down the counter. Lorraine bumps into Ed, startled. She claims something is wrong with Judy. They ask Tony where she is. Road trip time. The three of them arrive a few houses down from the Smurls because the road is still semi-blocked off by police and the crowd. They get out the car and Lorraine informs Ed and Tony that they're just getting Judy and getting out. The reporters call out to the Warrens trying to investigate, but to no response. Jack happily invites the Warrens in. Immediately, Lorraine senses something, but snaps back after Judy calls out to her. They try to leave, but Judy loudly protests. Judy gives a "we don't run from fights" speech and convinces them to fight this demon. Ed goes to the trunk and grabs his gear. They interview the Smurls like they always do in the series. Judy tells Tony she literally senses it's a trap, but stays anyway. Lorraine scouts the place out while Ed cooks breakfast for the family. Ed and Tony share a nice moment, showing the two of them progressively warming up to one another. Ed reveals the demon's tactics and how they can counter it. Ed presses Tony about his police story. Tony describes his domestic violence call, which led to a shotgun to the face. Afterward, his partner informs him he's a dead man, as the shotgun was loaded but misfired. Tony believes there's universes where he didn't get a life. Because of it, he buys the ring for Judy the next day. Ed approves, nodding. The family is having fun while Judy takes photos. She gets Lorraine and they chat for a second. Lorraine goes up to explore more and tells Judy to stay downstairs. Judy hears the doll crawling to her, but it turns out it's just the young daughter playing around. She asks Judy if she likes dolls, and Judy's PTSD hits, and she says, hell no. Lorraine goes into the parents' room and immediately checks under the bed for sad stories. She finds none and the bed sinks in immediately. Lorraine rises and some creepy hands withdraw under the blanket and the bed goes flat. Lorraine goes downstairs and the basement opens for her. Of course she goes down and she hears the spirit story. Outside the house, Lorraine reveals to Ed there's 3 spirits who lived on the farmland that was once there. There was a woman who had an affair and her husband went insane. He killed the wife and her mom in the basement with an axe. However, it's not mentioned what happens to the man. Controlling them is a demon hiding away. Inside, Judy hears Lorraine call for her to go upstairs. Judy spots the attic hatches down, which honestly was creepy. Judy calls for her mom, but no response. So logically, she approaches the ladder to climb up. Judy uses a flashlight to roam around the attic and almost trips. She reaches the end of the attic and finds the demon mirror intact. The garbage man brought it back, I guess. Judy touches the crack in the mirror and nothing happens. Oh look, chalk. Did you miss me?
Oh shit. Here we go again.
The attic gets dark and Judy hears the rocking chair. A demon raccoon starts to rummage around the attic and Judy nopes out of there, running down the ladder and closing it. She hears one of the young daughters call out to her and she goes into their playroom. Of course, Annabelle is sitting on the floor facing away from her. The doll begins to crack and grow, rising into a giant-sized Annabelle. Judy runs out the room terrified, stumbling and falling around. Annabelle begins to chase after her. Judy, now crawling away, finally gets to her feet and attempts to shine the light on Annabelle. However, Judy films it like a school fight.
Oh shit. Damn, he dropped our shit.
Eventually, she catches the giant Annabelle lumbering toward her just a few feet away. Judy, startled, falls down the stairs, hitting her head. This alerts everyone to go check up on her. Honestly, this sequence was extremely goofy and fell flat on its face, which I hope was intentional because that sucked. Lorraine and Ed go into the attic and find the mirror, realizing it's a mirror from the intro. Ed and Lorraine, sitting with everybody, retell the intro with Victoria Granger. Dawn asks what happened to Victoria. Ed reveals they don't know because they never went back. Lorraine supports this, saying they were young, it was their first case, and the risk was too great for their family. So much for never running from a fight, am I right? Ed reassures them that they're not going anywhere. Judy starts coughing like she's getting sick. Heather asks the Warrens, how do you get rid of it then? Well, have you considered asking it nicely? Dumb it, a demon might have squatter rights now that I think about it. Ed and Tony plan outside. Ed wants to take the mirror to the haunted room back home to contain it, having Judy and Lorraine stay behind. They talk routes and Ed tells Tony that no matter what, he has got to do what he says tonight. Tony agrees, so Ed tells him to give him a nice big smooch, and Tony complies. Who wrote this? Lorraine was with Judy, whose bed rested for some reason. Thunder and lightning set the mood. In the attic, Ed preps Tony and Jack with some bars. Once we start, there's no going back. Anything can happen, and most likely, anything will. Ed narrates St. Michael protect and defend us against goth baddies, etc., etc. Amen. Ed and Jack cover the mirror using a sheet and ratcheting straps. Ed and Jack begin picking up the mirror, and Tony decides now is the time to leave to turn on the car. Simon the dog starts bugging out while the girls try and calm him down. Jack warns if they step off the wooden boards, they will fall straight through the ceiling. Outside, Tony begins his marathon to the car. I swear it was literally 2 houses down a moment ago. The mirror gets heavier and heavier. Jack slips, so they pause a moment. The ratcheting straps begin to fall off, and Ed says to keep moving. Tony tries to start the car, but it doesn't work. Judy's nose starts to bleed much like Father Gordon's before he got possessed. Not good. The straps continue to fall off one by one, Ed saying we're almost there. The blanket flies off the mirror, and despite Ed's warning to not look at it, Jack looks straight into the mirror and sees a spirit. This kind of reminds me of when you tell your friend, don't look behind you because so-and-so is there, and they turn like this. Jack starts to bug out despite Ed's reassurances, causing him to fall down the attic hatch. This leaves Ed holding the full weight of the mirror as it hangs from the hatch. Ed tells Jack to get out the way, but too late. The mirror falls on Jack's foot. Jack yells out in pain, and Ed tells the family to back up. Ed says he'll get Tony, but Billy Big Balls is like, no, I can do it. Help me up. Judy is getting worse, and Tony finally gets the car started. He throws on Teriyaki Boys, launches it, and immediately does a drift to turn around. He floors it, and the grandma spirit suddenly appears in the middle of the road, causing him to veer off and crash into the Smurl's fence. Like I mentioned earlier in the movie, they parked like 2 houses down, but in this scene, they seem to have parked blocks away. Tony gets out the car, shining the flashlight, spinning everywhere, realizing he doesn't have car insurance. A hurricane comes out of nowhere, blowing open the door. Lorraine goes to close it, and the power goes out. When Lorraine returns, a little carousel is playing to set the scene, one that she messed with earlier in the movie. Judy is now huddled in the corner, reciting her rhyme, but she's obviously possessed. Judy speaks in an ominous child voice, then the demon speaks in a deep, raspy voice, saying, we've been waiting so patiently for Judy to come back to us. Instantly, Judy crawls on all fours straight to Lorraine and proceeds to body the hell out of her, and Lorraine falls down the basement. At this point, get Judy onto the Patriots now. She can play defense and offense. Lorraine becomes a part of Judy's highlight reel, and Judy shuts the basement door. Jack and Ed reach the stairs with a mirror, but Tommy Tough Knuckles can't keep up, apologizing to Ed as he slumps against the wall. Heather and Dawn get dragged by Simon, who barks at Judy. Judy turns around slowly, and with a big creepy smile, stares at them. Tony attempts to get inside the house, but no luck. The mom and the 2 little girls make it downstairs, seeing Judy. It's up to Judy to pull off the 1v6 now. For some reason, no one is talking about the fact that Judy is obviously possessed. They're just looking at her and are just like, yeah, she's good. Simon stands 10 toes down, ready to protect the 5 most important women in his life, barking ready to... What the hell? Oh no, Simon! As seen, Judy uses the force and slams Simon into the wall. The 5 girls are just screaming and no one is doing anything. Judy smiles even harder after Simon hits the floor. She's even for real. Tony is still stuck outside. Judy walks towards the mom and the 2 daughters, but is thwarted by Ed's arrival. Immediately, he's like, oh no. Judy fates him out and presses Ed. The mom ferociously, and I mean ferociously, tries to open the door, and so does Tony on the other side. Part of me wonders if they were turning the handle against each other. At the end of Judy's rhyme, she 5-finger punches Ed, giving him a heart attack. The young girls and mom cower while Tony hits at the door. Ed drops all his pills and Judy walks past. Tony breaks the window to the door and tries to open the doorknob from the inside, which is what the mom was already trying to do earlier, so like, why? He can't get it open, so he says he'll go around the back. I don't get why they don't break a normal window or to get in or out. Lorraine wakes up attempting to crawl upstairs, but the Adsman begins to descend into the basement. Lorraine scoots back, hiding next to the side of the stairs. She turns away and then back around and of course gets jump scared by the spirit wife who was murdered. She tells Lorraine, shush, and then takes an axe to the head. The wife slumps forward as Marilyn Manson picks up the lantern to chase after Lorraine. Lorraine keeps turning around to face him, tripping and stumbling, eventually falling into a pond of blood. She crawls around a few times, failing to make it up the stairs. Right before she is struck by a fatal blow, Tony opens the hatch to the basement and the spirit disappears because he's shy. Ed finally takes his perk 30 as Jack's wife runs to him. She asks if she should call an ambulance or police, but Ed says there's no time. She has to get Jack and all the girls out. Ed and Lorraine finally reunite, and Lorraine says it's Judy. It's always been Judy. To which Ed says to get the book. Lorraine retrieves his copy of The Cat in the Hat as the Smurls make it outside holding each other in the rain. Ed, Lorraine, and Tony rush to the attic. Tony makes it up first to see Judy is actively hanging. Tony rushes over, but his foot falls through the ceiling since he didn't get the memo. Ed runs past him, Tony giving him his knife. Lorraine shrieks off to the side and continues to do so while Ed attempts to cut the rope. Tony recovers, coming over and helping Ed. Lorraine continues to shriek, literally hitting the "For the love of God!" She does this the entire time until eventually they cut the rope and they fall through the ceiling. The funniest part to this scene is when you see the trajectory. Ed and Tony break their fall on Judy 100%. Lorraine climbs down the ladder while the others recover. Ed starts doing CPR on Judy since she's unresponsive, but she has a pulse. Lorraine sees Judy and again shrieks. She keeps shrieking throughout this whole entire little sequence. It's ridiculous. Lorraine again does the "For the love of God!" And Lorraine sees a demon reflection in the mirror. A demon is shown latching itself onto Lorraine's reflection. Ed starts to have another heart attack, telling Tony to take over CPR. They're all struggling, but Judy comes back. The mirror doesn't like this, so it rises in front of them, and for some reason the mirror floats and starts to spin super fast, literally hitting one of these. Ed spits his Bible bars across Catch's fire, of course. The mirror then suddenly stops after Ed very sternly says, "Hey, stop that, pal." The mirror launches itself sideways into the railing and floor. It then slides forward and crushes Tony's leg. Ouch. To make it worse, the mirror drags Tony as it approaches the others, breaking the railing one pole at a time. Ed catches it and pushes the inside, spitting Latin bars. The attic door closes and Ed is interrupted by his demon reflection, literally telling Ed, "Hey, shut your bitch ass up, nigga." Ed's Bible catches on fire. Panicked, Ed slams the book onto the demon's face and the demon roars. The mirror goes up and lands back down on Tony's neck. Judy yells, "No!" as Tony is still dragged, destroying the wooden floor and wall. The reflection says, "You're gonna watch him die." Ed retorts, saying, "I command you by the word of God," but God is taking another lunch break, I guess. Judy crawls away, saying, "You're not there," over and over, to attempt to hide from the demon and make it go away. She has a flashback to an earlier scene with Lorraine telling her to shut it out. Ed calls out, saying, "Get out of here," but Judy says no. Lorraine touches the glass with her cross necklace and holds Judy. She tells Judy to not shut it out, and don't run. Judy slowly reaches over and touches the mirror. The mirror cracks, and Judy cries out for a long time, loudly. Like, chill, it ain't that deep. Judy and Lorraine put both their hands onto the mirror and push. The demon reflections snarl in response. They hit a standstill. The mirror's starting to crack all over. Ed grunts like he's constipated. Lorraine shouts like she's giving birth. Judy hits the demon with, "You're not there." The demons yell, "Ah!" The demon is vanquished and a shockwave blasts through the house. The Smurls are still in the same spot. Did they even call for help? Hopefully off screen. Tony survives and the Warrens are beaten up, but they all survive. Yay. It's now daytime. The Smurls are sending off the Warrens and we see the mirror is in the trunk of the car. Hey yo, is he walking? Ed and Tony drop off the mirror in the haunted room and Ed tosses Tony the keys to the room and says, "Welcome to the family." Ed watches Judy down the aisle for her wedding day. We see a ton of cameos from the previous movies. Tony and Judy kiss and everyone cheers. In the after party, Judy and Tony dance and so do Ed and Lorraine. Lorraine reveals to Ed she had a vision of their future. She details how they became great-grandparents and finally wrote a book, but it was terrible. They passed on what they learned to the next generation. Ed and Lorraine dance, and in the background we see the nun and Animo doing... Hey yo, is she doing the Dougie? To wrap the video up, I give this movie 4 out of 10 spinning mirrors. The positives of this movie are the 3 Warrens and Tony. They build a nice relationship that feels relatable. There are even a few moments that are spooky, like the man in the shadows and the demon girl in the bed. However, this movie just doesn't live up to previous entries and has such blatant issues, like how they vanquish the demon, which was so stupid. Among other things like Ed's heart being on death's door, but can still have multiple heart attacks and be just fine. This franchise should end here on a decent note and start something new and fresh. However, this invitation generated more money for them as shown earlier, so I know they won't drop this IP. I suspect that the Passion of the Torch with Ed giving the keys to Tony and Judy embracing their powers may lead to a Judy and Tony spin-off where they are going to be the new Warrens. But what's been confirmed is the last Rites ends Phase 1 of the Conjuring universe and Phase 2 is to be decided, which so far has a prequel movie, which may be one of the 1000 cases they had, and also a show lined up, though the details are vague. Anyways, this concludes my video. Later.